Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another video on ForgottenWeapons.com. Today, we are out at a two-gun match, and I figured, since masks are a thing, it would be fun, or at least interesting, to do a match wearing a reproduction French World War I gas mask, and helmet, of course, and then naturally to do it with French World War I small arms. So we have three stages today. This is the first one, which I'm shooting with a model of 1892 Revolver, as well as my gas mask. For what it's worth, this is an M2 pattern of gas mask. It was used by the French, the British, and the Americans in pretty large numbers. It is, as gas masks go, relatively comfortable to wear. However, as I would discover here, yeah, see right there, I'm doing my last chance defog of the lenses, and this would prove to be a major issue for me. I was, in fact, basically unable to see the targets. I could see the targets, I couldn't really see my sights very well, and I could not see where I was hitting. So in the video here, you can see most of the impacts in the berm behind the plate rack. I could not see any of that through this gas mask. The lenses fogged up on me relatively quickly. It was cold enough out on the morning that we were doing this match that I did have condensation issues. I did a little bit of practice shooting before the match and did not have any issues, but in retrospect, that was because it was warmer and there was less condensation potential. So I do finally manage to get a couple of hits here. The revolver's not perfectly zeroed, this particular example, and the problem I had was just without being able to see where I was hitting, I had a very difficult time correcting. There are, in theory, a total of 3 shooting positions on this stage. There's this one through the barricade, where you have to drop 6 plates on a rack. The next one is a Texas Star that has to be shot prone, and the final one is another plate rack that has to be shot through a VTAC barricade. So par time on this was 200 seconds. I did my best on it, but this proved, like I said, to be very difficult. And it really does, even in just this sort of circumstance, it really does give one some sort of idea of what it would have had to have been like to fight or even just shoot in one of these gas masks. There was a weird sense of isolation in the mask. It has very little peripheral vision to it. Especially when you combine it with earplugs for hearing protection on the shooting range. It was kind of an interesting situation, just an interesting feeling to it. And of course, made it very difficult to hit anything through foggy lenses where you can't really see all that much. The trick, as far as I could tell, and I do finally actually clear that plate rack, the trick was to position everything such that you're looking through the very edge of one of the eyepieces in the mask, because the center tends to fog up most, and I generally had a little bit of clear vision right around the edges of the eyepieces. So here I figured I'll shoot the rest of the cylinder on that Texas Star. Getting one plate I was pretty happy with, to be honest, and I figured once it starts moving, I'm not going to finish this stage anyway. I might as well abandon the spinner, or the Star, and spend the time that I do have shooting on plates that are static. So this is, of course, the third section on the VTAC barricade, which doesn't really go a whole lot better than anything else. But I do make a couple hits here somewhere at the end, I think, if I remember. This was getting a little bit frustrating. Like, I kind of knew that, obviously I knew that the 1892 was not going to be a competitive gun for a match, but I didn't really anticipate how difficult these targets would be and just how uncompetitive it would in fact be. So I finally run out of time here. End up with 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 plates unhit. Remarkably, that was not the worst score of the match, and there were in fact 3 people who did even worse than I did. All right, the second stage, this is where everything really falls apart. This is at 100 or 125 yards, and there are, in fact, 2 steel plates down on that berm. They are about half-size silhouettes, and I simply flat out could not see them. I'm trying here. I also ran into the additional unexpected issue that the combination of gas mask straps and helmet straps were starting to pull my earplugs out when I tried to press the mask down to the gun to get a sight picture. and I really wasn't enthusiastic about shooting it without ear protection.
Are you ready?
And so I ended up just giving up on that stage and not even shooting it. Now, the third stage here, I did come back. I abandoned the helmet and the gas mask. I was wearing a regular mask until the beginning of the actual stage, and I dropped it for the length of the actual shooting component here. But I did want to actually get a chance to run the Lebel through its paces. So the idea of this stage is you have to hit your one target there from the left and the right of this fence, and then through two of the red painted slats. So I did that. I am now topping off the gun, which in retrospect, I actually should have done after the sprinting that's coming up. I should have done the run that you're about to see, because what I have to do is take a second target downrange, set it up, and then come back and hit it. I should have run the target down first, and then reloaded the gun when I was most winded to give myself a little bit of an opportunity to catch my breath. But I didn't think about that until it was too late. So I at least have a fully loaded gun waiting for me when I get back. The second target stand is already set up at the end of the berm there. So you set up the second target, then upon return, you have to go through the same shooting process, left, right, and through the two slats, but now you have to hit both of the targets from each of those positions. There will then be one final run after I complete this, where in order to have a self-resetting stage, once you're done with this, you have to run down there, grab your second target, and bring it back, and then shoot the single target one last set of times. So this was interesting in that this particular Lebel is a 1936 rebarrel, and it has the late pattern very wide rear sight, but it still has the early pattern very narrow front post, which made sight acquisition, the sight picture is a little bit unusual, but and it's also zeroed for 400 meters. But I was able to plan out ahead of time kind of where my hold needed to be. I was shooting at the bottom edge of all of these targets. And so far here, I'm 1 for 1, which made me very happy. The rifle actually worked a lot better than I was concerned that it might. This is, while it was rebarreled a mere 75 years ago, this is about a 125-year-old, 130-year-old gun. So there we go. Put the target back, such as it is. I believe that is the last round that I have loaded in the gun. And so now I actually have to reload the thing. There is an interesting conundrum with tube-fed guns that they're actually not that much faster for a long course of fire than single-shot guns, because it takes you about as long to load each cartridge as it would to just load one cartridge at a time into the magazine. So I knew I'd need most of the rounds. I think I loaded 5 in there. Right about here is where I have a problem, because I managed to miss, and then I short stroke the bolt, which is to say I opened it but not far enough back to lift the elevator, and so it didn't feed a new cartridge in. So I had to recycle the bolt for that one shot, and then I don't quite have time to... Boom. Ran out of time with 1 shot left. I still managed to come in ahead of 7 shooters though, so that's not bad. It was that was actually a really rewarding stage to shoot, especially after the frustration of just having to completely abandon the second stage. You know, in theory, on the second stage, I could have spent 200 seconds dumping rounds downrange, but I just figured I literally can't see them, and my gear is starting to pull my earplugs out, so why? Just why? I didn't bother. That may or may not have been the best choice there, but it is what it is. And I'm really glad I was able to come back on that third stage and have an enjoyable finish to the match. So hopefully you guys enjoyed a look here. Not everything always goes quite as planned, and boy, it really illuminates how bad it would have been to try and fight in a World War I gas mask. Thanks for watching.